If you should ever find someone new, I know he better be good to you. 'Cause if he doesn't, I'll be there. I'll be there. No, I'll be there. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Rickles. Just call my name and I'll be there. Hello, everybody. I am sure that my gum chewing is gonna, drive you guys crazy. I am so late today because I honestly have been trying to clean up from Christmas and organize my life. A quick health update. I don't have my results back yet. I don't know that this is COVID. I've never had COVID, but whatever I have comes and goes in waves. So I have periods of time like now where I feel fine, tired, but fine. No pain, no headache, no nothing. And then I have periods of time where I feel like I can't move or get out of bed. So whatever I caught is like a funky bug. Right now, I felt like I could get online and talk to you guys because I feel good right now. Most people who have COVID, who have symptoms, feel sick. Like all the time, not up and down, up and down. So I don't know what I caught. I will have my COVID results tonight, hopefully, or tomorrow morning. And as of now, I'm assuming it's positive only because Charlie tested positive, but Charlie is great. Charlie is asymptomatic as all get out. Charlie is perfect. Like I said, right now I feel good. Ann White said, that's exactly how I feel with COVID. Waves, lots of waves. You have COVID. I have COVID and that's what I'm going through. Waves. Oh, okay. So maybe it is. I don't know. It's the craziest thing. I have literally periods of time where I'm like, I'm not sick at all. Did I make it all up in my head? I feel great. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, if I don't get in bed right now, I'm going to cry. I don't know. I can still smell. And I can mostly taste. Some things taste a little gray, but I can taste. So I don't know what I have. I guess I won't really know until I get an antibodies test in a few weeks. Who knows? I have no fever, none. Wait, but other people are saying that they have waves too. Huh. Interesting. I was under the impression that if you got sick from COVID, you were like down and out for days. But that's not how I feel at all. Shit was so weird. I thought I wasn't sick, and then I would do something and feel like shit. Okay. That's interesting. I had migraines and no fever. Yeah, I have no fever. I have headaches that come and go. That's not true. Different for all people. I've heard that a lot of people think they are fine, and then it hits them again with COVID. Right. Anyway, whatever it is, I'm home in this house. I don't have a fever. I don't have a cough. I do have like snooty snots in my head right here. Oh, Angela, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry, Angela. Question. Is there any waves of fatigue? Yeah, fatigue. Yup. Bad. I never had a fever. Nope. Not even a low grade fever that I know of. Nope. I do have a question for you guys who had COVID. Did anybody not lose their smell or their taste? I'm just curious because I can still smell and my taste is just muted. Like I can still taste, but it tastes gray. I can't explain it. Anyway, everybody has it differently. If I have it, I have it. If I don't, I don't. Either way, I'm not leaving the house till January 2nd. So here we are. Okay. As I choke on my own spit, I want to talk to you guys about dating Lindsay. Okay, good. I want to talk to you about dating a widow, from the child of a widow. My father died, as most of you know, on Halloween 1993. I was a senior in high school. I had just turned 17. I turned 17 on October 21st. And my dad died 10 days later. I think it was a year later. Yeah, a year later that my mother started dating my now stepfather. And I hated him. I didn't need a reason. He was here, my father wasn't. He was in my father's house, my father wasn't. I hated him. He didn't do anything. Well, he did a couple of things. But I hated him. I love him now very much, but I hated him. I felt that I had to grandiose my father. I had to put more pictures out of my father. I felt I had to defend a dead parent. Nobody ever asked me to do that. My father never asked me to do that. My mother never needed me to do that. My stepfather never needed reminding he wasn't my father. It was how I handled my father's death and my mother dating somebody new. I felt I needed to put out more pictures. I felt I needed to talk about my dad, remind him that he was not my father. I can't explain it, but I went through life. Thank God I was away at college, but I went through those first few years. Really, I'll be honest. My mother has been with my stepfather since 1994, 5. So how many years is that? 25 years. And I'm going to tell you why I'm talking about this too in a second. I think the first 10 years I made it difficult for this man. I think the first 10 years I made it difficult for my stepfather. I think the first 2 years were the worst, then the next 2 years were a little less worse than the next 2 years and the next 2 years. Okay. When parents get divorced and somebody starts dating someone else or gets remarried, the kids can see their other parent and see how that parent responds, good or bad. When a parent dies, you have to surmise how that person would feel. When you're 17, you don't really have the maturity to think that your father would have wanted your mother to be taken care of, would want your mother to be happy. You think, who the hell is this guy in my father's house? Get this fucking fool out of here. We talk a lot about the fact that I didn't have the tools, I didn't have the maturity, I didn't have any resources whatsoever to understand that it was normal for my mother to need or want to move on. I don't know how much time could have gone on where I would have thought it's time for my mother to move on. I can tell you that 1.5 years did not feel like it was time for my mom to move on. I can tell you that 2 years after my dad dying, having another man move into his house and sleep in his bedroom was too fucking soon for me. I was also a very difficult kid. I was a very angry kid. I was a very aggressive kid. I was a fighter. So for me, that was all the only way I knew how to react to it. Like, I had to let my mom know, like, oh, you really are going to bring this dude into the house right now? So here's the thing. I received a letter from a beautiful woman who is dating a widow right now. And she is struggling with the fact that the children, the grown children, are having a very hard time with her. And she is struggling with the fact that there are a lot of loving pictures of her boyfriend and his ex-wife around the house. Not pictures of them as a family, pictures of he and her as a couple. And she is getting to the point where she loves this man, but she is not sure when it is appropriate for him to let go of his first life and move fully into his second life. Let me explain something from the child of a widow. If you are waiting for your children to get okay with it, you may get lucky and they may have an awakening one day and go, you know what? Mom's been dead long enough. I feel good about this. But most likely, it's not going to fucking happen. Okay? I know you see those videos on Instagram of the girl reading the thing, crying, going, you know, when Mom died, I just didn't think I would ever have anyone. But then Deborah came along and changed it all. And she loves me and I love her. Great for fucking Deborah. 9 times out of 10, that's not how it goes. I'm just going to tell you right now, and I'm not talking about divorced parents, I'm talking about dead ones. Maybe you will get lucky with a Deborah. I don't fucking know. But I'll tell you what, that's not what I had. That's not how I felt. That's not what I was reading at my wedding. And listen, I love my stepdad. In fact, I think my stepdad and I just had our first breakthrough a week ago. And he's been my stepfather for 25 years. You need to figure out at 34 with no kids, if you want to be with a man who has grown children who are not ready to let their mother go, and they may not ever be, who are not ready for their dad to move on, and they may not ever be. You see, this is the thing with dead parents. This is the difference between divorced and dead, right? Because they can't go to their mom and say, how do you feel about this, Mom? They just have to surmise how she would feel. And in their mind, this may not be the time. Kids got to come around to that whole thing when they are ready to come around. Can I tell you what I always have? The weirdest thing is this weird burning in my nose. It's burning, like a tingling, almost like I'm getting a cold sore in my nose, but I don't have anything. Anyway, if I'm 34 and I'm dating a widow with grown kids, I'm going to say to him, listen, babe, this is your wife's house. Her pictures are everywhere. This is not my home. I think we date casually until you are ready to move and we can find something that we can make our own. Because you will not move into their mother's house and start making changes, and those children will never accept it. And their father saying you will accept it will never make them accept it. Never. So, You think my mother didn't try? You think she didn't say to me, you will accept him, you will try, you will do whatever, you will blase blah? No, my mother tried all that. Jamie, you will accept him, you will respect him, you will whatever. Fuck I will. The fuck I will. You can't make me accept shit. You can't make me respect. No, nope. And Susan is the power, y'all. She was the power, but that is like I am not saying that widows cannot be loved. I am so grateful that my mother found love. Every widow deserves to find love. Every single one. But it is unfortunately a process. It is not something that can be forced, especially when there are children involved. And when children are not on board, it is hard. It is hard. And these kids may feel resentful that you're 34. You may be younger than their mother was. Most likely you are if he has grown children, teenagers, whatever. That may bother them. The fact that they're afraid he may have other children with you may bother them. When a parent dies, you have so much fear of someone replacing them and them being forgotten. That is the fear. The fear is, if I accept you, people will forget my father. It will be like he never existed. I couldn't have that. It is so hard. If you are a widow and you have children and you are thinking about dating, I recommend that you speak to your children about dating before you start dating. Because to be a step parent requires a lot of patience and a lot of love and a lot of empathy for children who are not yours. And it requires thick skin. I don't know how my stepfather stuck it out with my mom, with me. I was a miserable little shit who made his life hell. I was obnoxious. I was disrespectful. I slighted him. I ignored him. I was passive aggressive. I outright said, "You're not my father." Like, I can't explain it. But I will say this. Let me first say this. To everybody who is watching this and is a step parent, you are God's actual gift. I want you to know that. If you are a step parent and you are doing your best to make it work, especially if those children lost a parent, you are God's actual gift, because you have no idea how much we need you, because we have no idea how much we need you. We have no idea how much we need our parents to be taken care of and loved, and so that our parents are not eating alone and sleeping alone all the time. I couldn't appreciate it when I was young. But I look back now at how lucky my mom was to have somebody through the holidays, through hurricanes, through sickness. I wouldn't want my mom to be alone. The step parents out here who are getting up and step parenting every day, you are truly, truly God's gift. And it took me 25 years to get to that place. because parenting is hard as shit. It is hard to get up every day and clean up their mess and wipe their ass and talk to their teachers and make their beds and blah, 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 and COVID this and fucking that. And it's even harder when they're not your own. So to everybody doing it, my hat is truly off to you. Honestly. And my stepfather, I cried the other day on the phone with him and told him how much I love him. I don't think I have ever spoken to my stepfather that way. And it took 25 years for me to get there. But y'all, like, having a step parent is hard, but having your parent be alone is harder. You can't want that for them. You got to try. Don't do what I did. I wasted 10 years trying to push this man out for what? My father wasn't coming back. It's not like my mom cheated and brought this man in the house and put my dad out on the street. My dad died of cancer. He wasn't coming back. And I made this man, I made his life miserable for 10 years. For what? For what? If you are a child right now and your parent is trying to date, let them date. Let them love. You think you're uncomfortable? They're uncomfortable. They thought they were going to be with somebody forever. They got to start over. Do you know how hard it is to get naked in front of somebody new when you have only been naked in front of the same man for 26 years? Do you know how hard it is to let people around your children when you have spent a life protecting them from strangers? Do you know how hard it is to let someone into a home that your husband mortgaged and paid for you and left to you in his will, and now you got to let another man in there? Like, y'all, if they are, yes, Danny, for parents that are incarcerated, for parents that are divorced, for parents that are what are they called? Like deadbeats who don't come around. Like, if you are a child right now, any age, and your parent is trying to date, let them. Be a source of support for them. Yo, my nose is damn going haywire in here. Be a support for them. They're not doing anything to you. They're doing something for them. You gotta let them like love and heal and move on. Death is hard, and if you're not careful, it will trap you. Y'all, I was trapped in my father's death like a bad Twilight Zone episode. I held on to it so tightly that it felt like it happened yesterday. My father died in 1993. You can't hold on to it as tightly as I did. You can't hold on to it you can't force everybody to live stuck in the death of the parent. My dad would not want that for any of us. Crystal, 3 years is not a long time, but we got to get through. We got to talk to him or her, because it is important. It is important that step and bonus parents know that they are gifts, truly gifts, and that children of dead parents know that it is okay to let your parent move on. It does not mean that your parent didn't live. It does not mean they weren't loved. It doesn't mean that that we don't wish they could come back. Who doesn't wish that? I do. I would give anything for my father to come back. Anything except for my children. But it took me a long time. And I saw him as the enemy. And I blamed him for everything. Anyway, happy parents make happier grandparents. I don't know. I just want you guys to know that this is so hard. It is so hard. And sometimes you get lucky and you meet someone that your children embrace and you get married and they love them and it works. But for most, it is bumpy and it is ugly and it is sad and it is hurtful and it is sometimes heartbreaking. And, you know, again, you know, I talk to my mom. Yes. I talk to my mom now. Yes. But I just think this is a conversation that people need to have, and not a lot of people are, not a lot of people are sort of brave enough to have the conversation. So Stephanie Lockwood said, do you think it would have helped for your mother to say that your father wouldn't want you to treat them this way? Hell no. Hell no. If anybody would have said what my father would have wanted, I would be like, fuck you. You don't have a clue what my father would have wanted. Because when you are that angry about someone's death, when you are that unhealed, you do not want to hear anything from anybody. Charlie is great. Charlie is perfect. Charlie is asymptomatic. Totally asymptomatic. I did not get my test results yet. Even if it says negative, I might just assume it's positive. I don't know. But no, I did not get my results yet. They said it wouldn't be ready till today, till after 4. So, I'm just... Anyway, I just wanted to have this conversation with you because I don't think enough people have the conversation. My mother did not want to be alone. Once she had accepted the fact that my father was gone and he was never coming back, she became terrified of being alone. 46, whatever she was, widow, 4 kids. My brother was only 10. She didn't know how to raise a man. She had had 3 girls before him. She didn't want to raise a son alone. And that's not what my dad would have wanted. My dad probably wanted somebody to come in and help my mother raise his son. You know? So, anyway, I hate that I wasted so many years so angry, and I could have had a great stepfather, and instead I put a wall up between he and I didn't let him in, and I made it hard, and I don't even know why he stuck it out. To be honest with you, I guess he really loves my mom, because my brother loved him. My brother still loves him. He's an amazing grandfather. I mean, listen, my kids love him, and they don't even know him that well, but he has a gentleness about him that my children really responded to. He's like my father, but not like my father. You know, they both have a very gentle energy, which, you know, but, you know, I could have had a good friend in my stepfather. I could have had a real, you know, father figure, but I was not healed enough to give that to him. I didn't want him to be an ally because I needed him to be the enemy. When you're so angry about the death of somebody, you need an enemy. And he made the perfect enemy. Who better than the man that came in to live in my father's house? That's a villain if I ever saw a villain. I love him now. He knows that. And we have great communication now. But I wasted years. I do now, but I wasted years. Years. And I tried to keep my kids away from him because I wanted to, like, I didn't want him to get too comfortable. So like, I didn't really want him to come around a lot. You know, I didn't want him to feel like grandpa, but for what? For what was I doing that for? He's the only grandpa my children will know on that side. Why was I doing that to him? I have no idea. My father wouldn't want that. My father would be like, what are you doing? I'm not coming back. I can't see them. I can't grandfather them. Let this man love them. And he does love them. And they love him. They love him, which is crazy to me. But they do. Not crazy. He's lovable. It's just crazy to me, like, I don't know. I could have had him walk me down the aisle, but I was like, fuck that. I'm never doing that. I had my brother walk me down the aisle. If I could do it all over again, maybe I would have done it differently. I didn't. I didn't want him to fill any role of a father. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, I was young. Now I'm old. But I love my stepfather. He is grandpa. He is my stepfather. I will mourn him terribly when he passes. He's been very good to my mother. She has tried to tell me over the years, over and over and over, he's so good to me. Why don't you try? He's so good to me. She never made it about my dad. Never. She never said, do you think this is how your father, anything. But I just wasn't ready. And you know what? He is a saint because he was so patient. And when I came to him and apologized, and when I came to him and said, I'm sorry for how I treated you and I love you, he said, I love you too. I knew I was coming into a family where the father had died. I knew it was going to be hard. I did it anyway because I loved your mother. Like, okay, Saint Ken. You know, I have a very hard time saying or doing anything that takes me out of this very marginal existence where I can manage my father's death. I live in a long, skinny hallway where I deal with his death. I can't swing the equilibrium to either side because I can't handle it. So I have to stay right here with it. That is how I deal with it. It is not for everybody. It is not, doesn't make much sense. But I have only just come to let the hallway out a little bit. And it was really when I had that breakdown at the beach. For those of you who have been with me for a while, for those of you who know the breakdown I had at the beach, if you remember, maybe it was July, maybe. I don't remember. But when I had that full-on nervous breakdown at the beach, my uncle, my father's brother, his last living relative, I don't talk to him that often, but he called me after that video. And he said, Jamie, I know my brother. He was my baby brother. He would never, ever want you to be this sad about his death. This is what would keep him up at night if he knew. And it really took my uncle saying to me, setting me free from that very confined space. Your father would truly not want this. This would kill him. I needed to hear it from someone that I believed would know. It was like, did you ever crate train a dog? And you put the dog in the crate, but you leave the door open and the dog still sits in the crate? That was me. That is me. For so long, I was in a crate with the door locked over my father's death. And what my uncle did was he opened the door. I'm still in the crate, but the door is open. So I do feel like I can come in and out of the crate, thanks to my uncle. My uncle opened the door for me, and it was a beautiful gift. Because I only felt safe in the crate. I only felt safe in the crate with the door locked. That was the only way I could feel safe. And what my uncle did for me was he opened the door. He didn't pull me out of the crate. He didn't even ease me out. But he opened the door so that I knew I could come and go as I pleased. And that allowed me to heal whatever, or form or build or acknowledge or whatever relationship I have with my stepfather. Is that I feel now like accepting him, loving him, and saying it, because I think I've loved him for a very long time. I just don't say it a lot because it wasn't in my cage. But my uncle opened the door and it made me feel a lot safer to stick my head out. And I know a lot of people are watching this going, she's still crying over her dad after 25 years? Girl, I know. Don't you think I know? You think I want to be sitting in a fucking dog crate with the door locked for 25 years? I locked myself in that crate so tightly that it made it the only way I could feel safe. I did that to myself. I did that. So, baby steps. Maybe by the time I'm 90, I will not cry over my father. I swear I do laugh now because I'm like, I'm going to get to heaven and my father's going to go, oh, here she is. This one with the fucking tears all the time. I know it. I know it. My father's going to be like, oh, here she comes. All embarrassed in the parent waiting room at heaven. Nope, this one's mine. The one that's been crying for 70 years. I know. Anyway, I'm very grateful for my uncle. I love him very much. I'm very grateful for my stepfather. I love him very much. And I'm very grateful for my father. And I really love him very much. And now I'm just crying from outside the crate. Right outside. Right outside the crate. I can still see it. It's right here. I can go back in at any time. But now I'm outside. It feels good. Anyway, I love you guys. I either have COVID or a head cold. Either way. I love you. And share this video with anybody you think needs to hear it, you know? I love you. Have a great, great day.